everyone, and welcome back to SLAPcast for another episode of our coverage of the 2023-24 season. The international break is finally over, and we have some football to talk about. I have no doubt that you all missed our absolute drivel last week, so it's the least we could do to come back and offer you some more garbage. That's what we're going to do. So I'm your host, Gage, as usual, and I'm now going to initiate my introduction of our intrepid interlopers by starting with Reese. Hello, Reese.
Hello.
Hello, Ethan.
Hello, Gage.
And Josh, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Well, you may have noticed that I'm not in my usual setting. Ironically enough, acoustics are probably actually better in the room that I'm in right now to the room that I normally record in. So that's a plus of being away from my home. But so everyone enjoy it while it lasts. I'm in Lubbock for work and also visiting my mom. So shout out to my mom. So Josh, let's dive in to the question of the day.
So I don't know if this is the first time we've actually had like a football related one. I think it might actually be. It's a pretty good question. Which player from your club's career was completely decimated and altered by an injury?
Ooh.
Yeah, it is a good one. I completely forgot.
I could pick a couple.
I can go first because I've had like
you go ahead.
I have Ricardo Pereira because at the height of him before he tore his ACL, he was linked to Real Madrid, Bayern, and Barcelona when they weren't a sack of money laundering shit. And then tore his ACL twice, and now is starting as a right back in the championship and is murdering it. So, you know.
Well, I could say...
Sorry, you go ahead.
I was going to say, I could say Ivan Perisic because he just tore his ACL and he's 34 years old and that probably is going to end his career, but that doesn't really count. So I'm going to go instead for Eric Lamela, who tore both of his hip flexors at the same time and had to relearn how to walk. And after that, he was just never the same. Not that he was a world beater to begin with, but he was not really the same player after that. Although his Rabona red card special in the North London Derby was after that injury. So not all was lost by that.
Yeah. I think probably Jack Wilshere. He was kind of looking like he might be the guy, and then he just had every injury ever.
Jack Wheelchair.
Possible. Yeah, Jack Wheelchair. Exactly. He was looking like he was gonna be the man, but yeah, not to be. No, honorable mention to Hector Bellerin as well. He was one of my faves, and then he just fell off the face of the earth after his ACL.
This one was tough for me because I feel like whenever we do have an injured player, they always come back some way and still do okay. So I immediately thought of he hasn't really played, but Nathan Ferguson, just because we brought him in to be our right back replacement and he just has never played a game. But I did think
he actually played 0 games.
I think he came on as a sub one time with 10 minutes to go.
That's crazy.
So it is crazy. But I did think of a good one, and a lot of Palace players will agree with me. But Johnny Williams from millennium ago, he looked like a really good talent, and he just kept getting hurt. So, but he's starting it up in the lower leagues. Just wondered what he could have done if he had never got hurt.
Excellent stuff, gentlemen. Well, let's move from one football-related segment to another, and this week it's our mystery segment. Now, this week, the mystery segment is one that I have no doubt is near and dear to many of your hearts, as it was once a mainstay in SLAPcast running order and is the number one way we have for each of you to assert dominance over the others. So allow me to introduce the quiz. It's quiz time. Now, there's not really much of a theme to this quiz, just some interesting Premier League facts that I came across during the week and I thought would make for some good brain teasers. So, of course, you guys at home can play along. Let us know how you do in the comments below. What I will say is there is going to be one unique twist in today's quiz, which we have not done before, and that is that you are going to have to buzz in by shouting your own name. Failure to do so and answering the question without shouting your own name will result in disqualification from the question.
First name,
so beware.
Last name, full name.
First name.
Reese,
you
Reese.
Can shout your,
oh shit.
You could, yeah. If you do that, I'm gonna let Reese answer. So I thought about that.
Wait. If they answer, does that mean they're the one disqualified from the question?
No, because you buzzed in for them. So
sabotage.
Yeah, I'm asking the questions before I try.
I was gonna say, how did I know that? Like somehow there was gonna be a rules dispute about this new twist immediately as soon as we start off.
Thinking ahead.
Yeah. So okay, I'm gonna have to keep my eardrums on because some of these are relatively. I feel like y'all will buzz in quickly, so I'm gonna have to try to really.
What are the, is
Parcel
it
out
like
the
Jeopardy
sound
rules?
waves.
We have to wait for the full question to be read, or what's going on?
Not necessarily. I mean, if you really think you know the answer, you can buzz in. But if you get it wrong, you're stoned. Or not stoned. You're if you get it wrong, you're frozen out.
Gotcha.
You can't answer until everyone else has answered again. So there you go. Okay, let's get started. Number 1. Who was the only player in the Premier League to be sent off twice last season?
Only player.
Ethan. Darwin
Ethan.
Nunez.
Incorrect.
Okay.
You're stoned.
Reese.
Reese.
I'm gonna go with Christian Romero.
It was not Christian. Shockingly enough, it was not Christian Romero. He was sent off, but not twice. All right, Josh, you have a freebie, but you do have to buzz in.
Oh God, that's an awful question.
Okay, thanks.
Damn,
You
shut
suck.
up.
It's like a great question, but it's a hard question. I'm just trying to think of who got sent off last season. Josh.
Josh.
Van Dyke.
It was not Van Dyke. Okay, we'll start a new round by me giving you a hint. He was a midfielder who was a new signing for Manchester United.
Oh, Josh.
Reese.
Josh.
Casemiro.
It is Casemiro.
Ooh.
1 point to Josh. Okay. Question number 2. Alex Iwobi made his Fulham debut on the same weekend that his 2 former clubs, Everton and Arsenal, faced off. Name any other player who played for both Everton and Arsenal.
Reese.
Josh.
Reese.
Theo Walcott.
Correct. Okay. Here's where the rules dispute comes in because this next question has 2 answers, but I'm going to outline the rules very clearly. If you buzz in, you can only answer 1 question. However, even if you get it right, I will tell you that you're correct, and then you can immediately buzz in with the second if you know it, or someone else can jump in.
I have a question. Can you buzz before the first person says their...
No, you have
What
to
if
wait for
you're-
me to tell them.
What if you're wrong? Can you not buzz in on the second?
Then you can buzz in on the second. You get 2 strikes. 2 strikes
Okay.
until you're frozen out. Is everyone clear on the rules?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. This weekend, Richarlison became the 3rd ever Brazilian to reach 50 goals in the Premier League. Who are the other 2?
Reese.
Reese.
Bobby Firmino.
Correct.
Josh.
Josh.
Gabriel Jesus.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm having a shit day today.
I wanted to say Jesus Josh. I don't know. I feel like he's just injured way too often.
I thought you were going to. Well, he's also like...
He has been in the league for a long time. Yeah.
He's on like
Yeah.
season 6.
It's like a slow dribble. I feel like he only scores around 8 or 10 goals a season, but he's been in long enough that it works out.
Well, yeah, that first season where he didn't get hurt was...
I would have said Coutinho if I had been
Ooh.
guessing for that one, but that's incorrect. He has around 40 something. So number 4, which center back became only the 4th player in Premier League history to score 2 own goals in a single match last season?
Oh gosh, I feel like I remember this.
It was pretty close to the end of the season. Josh.
Was it Wout Phase?
It was Wout Phase
Oh my
It was
gosh.
I distinctly remember
against
but,
Liverpool
yeah.
after y'all had taken the
Everybody
lead
from-
early in the game too.
Oh God, that game! I'm really glad I didn't have to watch that game. I think I was in class or something for it, but I remember distinctly seeing FaZe and the own goal twice. It was like, what?
Okay, the points tally currently stands at 3 for Josh, 2 for Reese, and a big fat nothing for Ethan. However, there are 3 questions remaining, so you can
I'm
get
waiting for
yourself
the
back
Crystal
in the
Palace
mix.
question.
You can get yourself back in
That
the
is true.
mix.
We've had the Arsenal and the Leicester. Link up.
Okay, number 5. Every single member of Chelsea's current Premier League squad is either European or South American, except for one player. Who is that player?
Ooh, I see him.
It's or.
Bro sounded like the map guy from Hollow Knight.
I thought he was like the ooh ee ooh ah ting.
Reese.
Reese.
Uguachekwu?
Incorrect. He is from France. Good guess, though.
I know who it is. I just totally don't know his name.
Yeah, I can't do it without. I cannot.
You're stoned, Reese. I'm going to need some buzzes. I'm going to need someone to start throwing out some names.
You said now or last season?
This current, like right now, currently.
Okay. I don't know his name, but I'm just gonna freeze myself so we can move on. I'll say Ethan.
Ethan.
Robert Sanchez.
Incorrect.
Josh Mudryk.
Josh. Incorrect. Your hint is going to be this. He is from Senegal. And he was signed from a team in Spain. His name does not sound very African, I will say that. It sounds like an English last name. He started, I think, every single
Reese.
Premier League game for them. Reese.
Nico Jackson.
It is Nico Jackson.
Oh.
Nico Jackson is the only player.
Didn't they have a
Wow,
striker
he's
from the
Senegalese.
Cote
That's
d'Ivoire?
crazy.
Not currently. I like.
You're thinking of Fofana. He's out on loan, I think.
He is out on loan.
That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking of this whole time.
Okay, 2 more questions. So it's currently tied at 3-3 between Reese and Josh. So Ethan is eliminated from contention. However, it is still up for grabs, and there is a tiebreaker involved, just in case. Number 6. Son Heung-min was the first Asian ever to be named a Premier League club captain. But which other Korean once wore the armband in the Premier League for Swansea City?
Ooh, Josh.
Josh. 5, 4, 3,
Asong
2, 1.
No,
Otherwise known as bro just flipped the letters of Son Heung-min.
Are you looking for the full name or a last name?
Last name will suffice. Don't be
can
racist.
see him.
No, I'm not thinking of racist. I'm just thinking of other Korean players that I think have been in the league.
I know who it
Maybe
is.
played
What
for
is his
Swansea.
name?
Reese
Reese.
Park.
Incorrect.
Oh my gosh,
Oh
I
my
don't know.
He is a Korean player who's played in the league, though, so well done. But
Thank you.
Ethan. I know he played for
Ethan.
Palace. Chung Yong Lee. I'm trying to get.
good guess. No,
It's at
good
least just a
guess.
Korean player. You just said someone who's not a person.
I know the number the guy wore too is the most frustrating thing.
Ethan's not correct. The other hint that I'll give you is that he later signed for Newcastle on a
Right.
free transfer.
What was his name?
Oh man.
I used him in a career mode one time.
His name rhymes with a famous Burnley center back who now plays for Brentford. So now you have to figure out who that is and then figure out who. The opposite of Ben Yu is who it rhymes with.
Reese
Reese.
Lee.
Incorrect.
Just change the starting letter, bro.
his, his surname, or the name I'm looking for, is only 2 letters.
Josh.
Josh.
Is it Key like Ki?
It is.
Did he wear number 4 for that?
Yes, he did.
I can see his face, and I could not think of it.
It
What's
is
his full name?
Ki Sung Young,
I
former
wasn't-
Swansea midfielder.
I had the middle word ish.
No.
Yeah. Okay, number 7. And this is for everything. So, Reese, you have to get this to stay alive in the quiz. After today's news about his ACL injury, it looks like Ivan Perisic might have played his last game for Spurs. Who was the last Croatian besides him to play a game for Spurs?
Reese.
Josh.
Reese.
Modric.
It is Luka Modric.
Yeah!
He's tied at 4-4. You can watch on the recording, Josh. It really did sound like Reese came through first, like decisively. So you can watch on the recording. Okay. It's the tiebreaker. Get ready, Josh. Which American midfielder joined Christian Pulisic at AC Milan this summer?
Ethan.
What? I'll let Ethan
No,
answer.
it's
Well,
fine. No.
I don't know what to do because
Reese.
this is the tiebreaker. Reese.
That's Tyler Adams.
It's not Tyler Adams. Although he did join a team that plays in black and white. If they both miss this, Ethan, I'll give it to you.
I forgot what you asked
who it
already.
is. I know who it is.
Josh. Is it Yunus
Josh.
Musa?
It is Yunus Musa.
Okay.
Josh takes the quiz.
I
Well done, Josh.
knew it
Probably.
was an African American guy, but I could not remember which one from the national team it is.
Reese, Tyler Adams joined Bournemouth.
You're so,
So
right.
black and white, but not quite right. I apologize to Ethan for not having a Crystal Palace question in the mix. It was a gross oversight on my part.
That's fine. I just feel like a poop head for not getting anything, but
Yeah, like in defense, it would have been 1.
Yeah, did you have
Well-
Yunus Musa on that last one?
yeah,
So there you go.
I apologize.
that's fine.
Well, do you want me to compound your poo-poo-ness and start our match reviews with Crystal Palace, or would you rather me go somewhere else?
Yeah, let's just talk about it. I mean, it's first on the list.
So foul.
I mean, what am I
What
supposed
is
to do?
disrespectful?
It's on the running order. And I wasn't supposed to know that he was gonna be
You could have
poo-poo
had
after
a
the
softer
quiz.
there could have been a softer transition from. Do you want me to compound your shitty week in terms of football? Let's talk about your favorite team shitting the bed this weekend.
Well, no, they didn't shit the bed. The officials did.
Yeah,
Yeah. So Palace went to Aston Villa, and we ended up scoring first, but then we proceeded to let in 3 goals within like the last 10 minutes of the game. So yeah, pretty poopy to add on to my poopiness. It's really one of those games, and I'm not going to talk about it too long. It's one of those games where you think just got way out of hand, and the result didn't match how the game actually felt. In honesty, I think the game should have ended like 1-1. I thought that was a fair result. But a lot of stuff happened with the referee, and even moving beyond the fact of the penalty and whatnot, I still thought he just did a bad job with everything. So I think the biggest takeaway was that he just spent way too long looking at the review or reviewing the penalty, into where it kind of let the game get out of hand, and the players were like just losing their tempers and stuff like that. So the one takeaway from it, Matedward worked well to get the goal, even though it was not started with Mateta on the field. Ayew got injured and Mateta came on, and they linked up really well for the goal. So I'm going to stand by being a big Edouard supporter. I've always been, and you know, he's already got, I want to say 4 in however many games do we have. I think, yeah, he has 4 goals right now. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he ends up finishing with.
How long is Ayew's injury looking like it's going to be?
I think he's back actually, because he was in training today. So I think it might have just been like in the moment.
I smell Mateta not starting again.
I was gonna say surely this time Matedward will start the next game, dude.
I don't know.
Who's y'all's next fixture against Fulham? That's kind of a big clash too, because it's two teams right next to each other and like where you're gonna expect to finish. So
Yeah, I have no idea. I guess I should bring this up, but Roy wasn't in the dugout for this game. Yeah, he was sick. So I think they said that he's going to be back for this next game, which is good. But it does make you wonder how long is he going to be able to keep doing the managing job if he keeps getting sick and has to stay out like that. So let's hope it's just a one-off thing. But yeah, we'll see what he ends up putting out there.
how do you feel about Villa in this game? Do you think they honestly deserve to win, or do you think this is one of those kind of smash and grab, skirt by type wins? Like, were you impressed with them at all, or?
I mean, I thought they looked decent in the first half. They had a lot of well-worked passes and stuff. They had a good goal disallowed. Not in the sense of it should have stood, but it was well worked. Like I said, Diaby is going to be a great signing for them this season. I think the match really deserved a draw. I mean, I think that in the second half, they didn't really look that good before Duran's goal. And I think we just had an opportunity we had a few opportunities to make it too, but we just couldn't get it. And, they obviously had a freakish great goal by Duran. And then after that is when it kind of just went downhill and it led to all this VAR stuff that it was either this or that, it's a lot of people have been talking about it on Twitter, and honestly, I just think it should have just been a draw. I think a draw based off of the performances by each team, but I feel like Aston Villa fans probably wouldn't agree with that, but they just need to take off their glasses.
I definitely thought it was the classic adage of tale of two halves, right? I thought, first half Villa's the winner, second half y'all are the winner. Should be a draw. Easy as that. That's what I think. But
yeah, no, I agree with that.
All right. Well, in the interest of not continuing to absolutely obliterate Ethan's mood, I'm going to actually change the running order and go now to Spurs, where I can talk a little bit more freely about something that won't make Ethan depressed. So I'm going to start off by saying that this was not a football match. This felt like a shift at the glue factory, because this is probably the worst exhibit of time wasting I've ever seen in my entire life, even worse than Newcastle last season. I don't know the actual statistics of how long the ball was in play for, but this was one of the most brutal games to watch that I've ever seen in my entire life, to be completely honest. It was abysmal. I think Sheffield United, I understand where they're coming from. They're a newly promoted side who are probably under strength for the Premier League, coming to one of the big boys. I know, Wara Trophy and all that, but one of the big boys, one of the high performers right now in the Premier League, at least at home for Spurs. So I get it. But at the same time, you can't be upset like they were in the post-match press conferences whenever your chickens come home to roost, right? I mean,
I wanted to
so
ask about
upset.
that actually, because throughout the game, you were upset with the refs, understandably. And then I watched the post-match reactions from Sheffield United and their manager, and he was upset with the refs. Like, why everyone's upset with the refs?
I'm
and
flabbergasted.
I don't understand it.
Well, what I would state, by the way, is that I actually texted y'all and said, I said heat of the moment, I know, but this is one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen, like probably top 3. And even now, removed from that, knowing that Spurs won, I still think it's top 3 worst officiated games I've ever seen. Because not only was he getting calls wrong left and right, including 2 Stonewall penalties that Spurs should have had. The Madison one where he's chopped down in the box by Chris Basham. Yes, Madison sells it, but come on. I mean, Basham just kicks him like he's not even close to the ball. And then the other one where Son tries to break through 2 players and they bring him down collectively. And it's one of those things where it's like, well, there's 2 players involved. So, it just kind of net cancels out that it's not a foul by either of them, but I actually think it's a foul by both. So that was not given. And then the other thing that kept going wrong was, this is the incident I told y'all about over text. So it happened twice where Spurs had a corner early in the second half, and Spurs were throughout the game were constantly trying to take quick corners. And it's about the 55th minute or so, maybe, I'm not sure. And the ball goes behind for a corner. Basuma grabs a new ball from the sideline, runs over to the corner spot and takes it. And then as soon as he takes the corner, the ball gets thrown back onto the pitch, the other ball. And so the ref stops the game, throws the other ball out and says, okay, Spurs retake the corner. Sheffield United are livid because it was the Spurs fans who threw the ball back onto the pitch. So Sheffield United think, no way, should be Sheffield United ball, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, Spurs retake the corner. Sheffield United defender heads over into the south stand. Same thing happens. Kulusevski grabs the ball, puts it on the corner spot, passes it in to someone, and then the ball comes back on the pitch. Referee stops the game, drop ball, Sheffield United, corners over, everyone back to the, your starting positions. So the referee essentially was just useless for a span of 5 minutes and pissed everyone off. And the crowd was on his back, and he legitimately looked like he was going to crap his chaps at any moment. Like, this is not a high profile fixture. And the guy looked like he couldn't handle the moment. Like, it was getting to him, and he was just like sweating profusely. Like, his body language was just very negative. So I think that's part of it. And then Sheffield United were upset because they feel like it was basically add on as much time as you want for Spurs to get a winner, which is ridiculous considering some Spurs fan did the math. So take this with a grain of salt. But if they had actually done the rule, which is to add on exactly as much time as was wasted, there would have been something like 23 minutes of added time in the second half. So the ball was out of play for that long, and you're upset because there's 12 minutes and it's an agenda for the big clubs to win games, even though the Premier League wants to improve their product by not allowing teams to keep the ball out of play constantly. So I don't really understand. I mean, all I can say is, and Reese said this in the chat, and or in the text chat with us, and I couldn't have said it better. Ball doesn't lie, dude. Like, if you had not time wasted and been an absolute shithouse and the referee, wasn't crap all game, it's unlikely that 2 goals would have gone in the 98th and 100th minutes. So, sorry. That's what I have to say to Paul Heckingbottom especially, and Ollie McBurney, who tweeted some nonsense after the game as well. He's officially lost the plot. My favorite thing that happened was after the winner went in, James Maddison went and laid on the center circle and pretended to have a cramp so that they couldn't kick off.
That sounds like something he would do.
Made me laugh and made me think that James Maddison might be my favorite Spurs player right now, either him or Basuma. So yeah, shout out to him. So Kulusevski actually said in his post-match interview that when that second goal went in, it felt like a bomb went off. And I could not agree more. I mean, I was in my apartment, which I'm very annoyed at myself for not going to the pub, by the way. I had just returned from a trip in another state. And so I was tired and I was like, I'm not going to go to the pub, whatever. I'm so annoyed that I didn't go. When that goal went in, various items in my apartment got thrown in various directions. I was in a primal fit of celebration in a way that I have not been in many, many years. I mean, I have not felt that alive in probably 5 years when that goal went in. So that was excellent. And I feel like it's poetic justice for me because I missed the Leicester 3-2 game. Again, sorry, Josh. I missed the Leicester 3-2, the Bergwijn game, because it was the first day of class in the spring semester of that year. So I wasn't able to watch that one live, but I did watch this one live, and it was super exhilarating. Poor Luke Thomas was on the pitch for both of those, by the way. He was on the pitch for Leicester when Bergwijn scored 2, and he was on the pitch for Sheffield United. So Madison was actually on the pitch for both too, but he obviously was with Spurs this time, so felt a little better. But yeah, honestly, I don't have that much else to say. I mean, tactically. Oh, I do want to talk about Richarlison because I think that's a key point that we've been discussing recently. So I actually thought that this would have been a good game to start Richarlison in to try to get his confidence back, because stylistically, he works better with crosses being delivered into the box and breaking down a low block, whereas Son up top is more of a weapon against teams with whom you can run in behind. And I think Sheffield United were obviously going to sit in the low block. And it showed, right? When he came on, he was involved in both goals. The first one just being a simple aerial duel, like one of those crap set piece goals that you need, him arriving at the near post and flicking on, just one of those types of goals that he's so good at scoring, and one of those types of goals that you need against a team that's going to sit deep like that. Of course, Perisic with a a perfect delivery. He was involved in both goals as well. And yeah, the second goal was just perfect Postecoglou football. Udoji, who I'm now convinced might be the best left back in the Premier League, biased, but wins the ball back in an extreme fashion, busts a gut to get there in the 100th minute, and then some smooth interchange with Højbjerg, Perisic, Richarlison, and then lays it off to Kulusevski, who rifles it home. So perfect Postecoglou football. The South Stand went absolutely bonkers. Postecoglou kind of just stood there, which was pretty interesting. He gave a little nice little one of these and then turned back around to try to organize the defense, which is crazy because Antonio Conte, I think, sprinted halfway to Italy and back. Yeah, whenever the Bergwijn goal went in. So, yeah, just kind of an interesting parallel of personalities.
The manager of the month.
We finally broke the freaking manager of the month curse, dude. Every time that happened, I mean, Nuno won manager of the month for us. So just let that sink in.
Was he knocking?
And then, yeah, and then obviously James Maddison won player of the month, and he didn't have his best game ever against Sheffield United, but I mean, he was his characteristic self, looking for passes, controlling play in the midfield. So we finally broken the curse in fantastic fashion. So maybe it means something. I don't know. Maybe it means this isn't just another false dawn for Spurs. What'd you say, Josh?
What is Nuno up to?
He's in Saudi, right?
Yeah, he coaches Karim Benzema at Al Ittihad.
Jesus Christ.
So he got there before the boom, though, because I feel like they could have gotten a better manager after the boom. But I don't know if anyone else has any points.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up the post scenes of the game with all the players not only celebrating the game, but celebrating Richarlison and kind of shoving him to the front of the celebrations.
Yeah.
I thought that was just really nice to see. And it just kind of shows, I mean, that's a great indicator of where the club's at. Cause I mean, not to say that y'all's players weren't like a cohesive team, didn't care about each other, none of that stuff before, right? But this is just the kind of things you want to see. And it shows what effect the managers already had at the atmosphere of the club.
I honestly don't know if it's unfair to say that the players were pretty checked out by the end of last season. I mean, they had 4 managers in one season or whatever it was. And they've just been beaten down and brutalized all season. And a number of them, it's come out that they were going to look to leave the club if Conte was still there at the end of the season. So, I mean, I don't think that's unfair to say, but yeah, you're right. It's just the feel-good factor is back. And I think you experienced this a lot with Arsenal. It's a very similar trajectory to what happened last season with Arsenal. And I remember one moment stuck out to me last season when Saliba scored that own goal and then the entire crowd kind of rallied around him. Well, now it's Richarlison who couldn't score to save his life. And he had a horrible week midweek with Brazil, missed a bunch of sitters, came out and said he needs psychological help and all this stuff. And then, the fans are, really excited when he comes on, cheering him on whenever they announce. I think maybe the loudest cheer of the game was when the first goal went in. It was kind of hard to see who scored it because it was one of those that just kind of flew straight in. And when the stadium announcer said, "Oh, a goal for Spurs, blah, 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 number 9, Richarlison," and the whole stadium just erupted. So that was really nice to see. And then, as you mentioned at the end of the game, I think you're in a good place if your club captain is pushing a player who is his direct starting spot competitor to the front of the celebrations to celebrate a great performance. I think it just is a real testament to where we're at right now. So the feel good factor is back. I actually enjoy watching football again, which is a fun feeling. And I don't know. I'm fully poised right now, and it feels good to be back in that light. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot to talk about Richarlison stuff in the midweek. So
I'm especially excited because this will be the first North London derby in a while where both teams are good.
I know. I was thinking that too. I was like, in the past, it's been kind of just exclusively playing for pride, but now it feels like something's really on the line, which, yeah, I'm very excited about. And the nerves are back too. In the past, I wasn't super nervous for the North London derby because I was like, well, it almost felt like the outcomes were predetermined. Spurs are going to get washed, or whenever Arsenal were falling apart at the end of whatever season that was, when Spurs won 3-0 2 seasons ago, when Spurs won 3-0, it just felt like the results were predetermined. But this season, it seriously could go either way because both teams are in such a good patch of form. Both teams are playing exciting football, pretty unique styles too. So it's going to be interesting to see how they match
0-0.
Absolutely right. That is absolutely right. It's going to be the worst game you've ever seen this season.
Yeah.
So
When are the games this season?
Well,
First one's
the-
this Sunday.
yeah, which is why we're bringing it up because it's
When's the
imminent.
second one?
I think it's in
Uh,
April or May. It's super late, which could be interesting because it could be some type of decider if things keep going the way they're going right now. So obviously don't want to jump the gun with Spurs. I think we will come back down to earth eventually. Although, I mean, I said that about Arsenal last season too, and y'all never did. So maybe
Well,
we
did a
won't. I
little
don't know.
bit.
Maybe towards the end of the season, maybe. But I mean, City, we're just a freak animal, and they are again this season. So okay, let's compound Ethan's misery just a little more. I gave you a nice break to listen to me.
I've accepted the fact that Brighton are just levels above us right now. It's not a rivalry. They always beat our ass. So I've lived a happier life knowing that I'm never going to have that sort of happiness again.
Well, the good news is I actually want to spend more time talking about Man United because they are such an absolute train wreck.
Right now, yes.
Who's the bigger train wreck, by the way, Chelsea or Man United? This is the ultimate question right now.
United.
United.
For sure.
Yeah.
United has a lot of defensive injuries, but Chelsea has a lot of injuries across their entire team.
And
That's what-
also, United has had a lot longer to settle this squad, which Chelsea have not had.
Also, Chelsea look okay. They just can't score. United look
Yeah.
like they're trying not to get relegated.
Also, Ten Hag is making every excuse imaginable.
Dude, he's still talking about the Arsenal game.
Do you see the quote? I guess we're just gonna get right into it. Y'all see the quote
Yeah.
he had about Brighton's spending?
Yes, that's
He was like-
crazy.
Their entire starting 11 was worth like 17 million.
Yeah, he was like, Brighton has spent so much money, and we just get the United tax. It's like, you do, but they have not spent any money, and you're picking the wrong team to talk about this.
I'm
again.
pretty sure you could pick any player in their starting 11 apart from Sergio Reguilon, who's on loan, and they probably cost more than every single member of the Brighton squad.
Yeah.
Like,
If this was like, maybe if they were playing Newcastle and they got smashed, like maybe that's an okay quote. But even then, it's United. Like,
What I
your
don't
owners
understand-
just tried to get $10 billion for the club.
where did their money go? Literally, where did their money go? Like, I'm going to read off the United bench to you right now, and please explain to me how they spent $100 bajillion this summer. Altay Bayindir in goal on the bench. Harry Maguire. Okay, there's injuries. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Johnny Evans. Okay, there's injuries. Here's their attacking options. Facundo Pellistri, who I don't think has ever started a game. Daniel Gore.
Ooh.
Hannibal Mabry, who ended up being their best player on the day when he
And
came
eats
on.
people.
Yeah, and also eats people. Anthony Martial, who they've been looking to shift on for about 100 years, and Alejandro Garnacho, who is like an ultimate super sub, but generally struggles to be a part of play whenever he comes on. Where did their money go?
They decided to buy a keeper for a gajillion dollars who is leaking goals, and they also decided to buy a striker for a gajillion dollars who scored 9 league goals last season.
Chelsea Onana has had like 12 shots on goal and has let in 9 of them.
He let in a goal at day of recording today against Bayern Munich. It was
That was a
awful.
complete embarrassment. It was straight along the ground and straight at him, and he still managed to let it in. So, yeah.
There was a great moment from the punditry team. They were leading up to that replay, and they were like, because Peter Schmeichel was about to turn it over to him. I can't speak. They're about to turn it over to Peter Schmeichel, and they were like, yeah, let's look at the first goal here. And it was obviously a goalkeeper error. And Peter Schmeichel was like, you think? And then he just stares at the camera.
What I will say is David De Gea is available.
That's
I'm
true.
going to say David De Gea is available on a free.
They just need to re-sign him and just throw him in there.
I just think it's funny that all these United fans were blaming David De Gea for their bad results, and then they're now realizing that it is not the goalkeeper, although it partially is right now, but it was not the goalkeeper for all these years.
Think about like if they didn't have De Gea, who won the Golden Glove last season. Like, where would they have been the last? They probably would have finished lower than 10th at some point.
Dude, the last decade, ever since they
Yeah.
won that last title, where would they have been without De Gea? Like, the guy gets mad disrespect. Yeah, he lets in some howlers here and there, but come on, who doesn't? Like, which goalkeeper doesn't? So, yeah.
I think he just gets blown like super out of proportion because he plays for United. And they're freaking
This
everywhere.
game just proved on the biggest stage that at the end of the day, good tactics outweigh good players 100%
Absolutely
of
right.
the time. Because United have, like we've been saying, have spent so much money on their squad, but Ten Hag has them lined up and playing like they're trying to avoid relegation, while De Zerbi's got his players out there and he's like, I am transforming into Pep Guardiola. He's like performing hypnosis on them. He's like, I am Guardiola. I am Guardiola. And they're like, we are Man City. And then they play like they're freaking Man City all the time. Or he still says I'm Guardiola, and then they go out like they're Barcelona. It's like, what are they even? Why is Danny Welbeck playing like this? Like, there's no reason he should be looking this
Adam
good in the
Lallana
game.
starts every week for them.
Yeah.
What is this guy? Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, enough about that. Let's move on to Arsenal now, who is going to be our last game review of the week. Although I do want to compact this with Arsenal's performance today in the Champions League as well, against Sevilla, which is probably a more interesting game to talk about than Everton.
PSV.
So PSV, sorry. I don't know why I was thinking Sevilla. PSV. Yeah, Reese, I'll just turn it over to you for, I'm not sure what points you have on either game.
Yeah, I have a couple points on the Everton game. Just some interesting stuff, actually. First is just a funny stat. This is actually for both games. So the Everton game, this was our first time winning away at Goodison Park in 6 years, coinciding with our first win in the Champions League in 6 years, because we haven't been in the Champions League for 6 years. But yeah, I think the win against Everton is actually, even though it's a 1-0, I thought, there's some great takeaways from this game. The main one being, obviously, we're kind of cursed at that stadium, but there was a big question about, teams know how we're going to play now. So a lot of teams are going to show up in a low block. How do we break them down? Exactly like this. You take your chance when you get it, and then you play really well defensively. Don't let them get any chances. So I thought from that standpoint, really great game. The other interesting thing from this Everton game is the goalkeeper situation, because David Raya started. And before he started, there was a press conference with Arteta where he mentioned that he had regrets over not making a tactical goalie substitution because he was too afraid. And I thought that's kind of weird and didn't think much about it until I saw David Raya starting, and I was like, okay. And my initial thought was, well, it's because he wants to play Ramsdale in Champions League, who David Raya played in Champions League as well. But looking at the Everton game, I was like, why would he have talked about tactical goalie substitutions right before starting David Raya? Like, surely this has some correlation. Obviously, a lot of other Arsenal fans said the same thing. So I actually found this stat on Twitter, and then it's been kind of being passed around. But obviously, Everton, they're going to show up. They're going to try and counterattack and crossing all the time. They're crossing. They're trying to win corners. That's what they're playing for, right? David Raya was only second in the league behind Emi Martinez in caught balls with 51 last year. Ramsdale had 17 last year. So from a tactical standpoint, they are very different keepers. Raya likes to come out and collect crosses. Ramsdale does not. So I think that's maybe where the thinking was. It will be more interesting to see who starts in the North London derby, because now I'm kind of thinking the Everton game was tactical. Champions League is because he wants to rotate, and maybe he wants Ramsdale ready for the North London derby. But I said the same thing for the Champions League game, so who knows? If Raya starts in that game as well, I think he's probably just the new starter, but we'll see. I have a feeling they are going to share game time pretty equally this season. And I think we're also, now that Arteta has come out and said that thing about tactical goalie subs, I think it'll happen sometime soon in the future. We're going to see a mid-game goalie substitution, which will be interesting.
Were you expecting that at all when y'all signed David Raya, or were you just expecting a backup?
I thought he would play the entirety of the Champions League, no matter how far we got. I thought that was the thought process, was get a good enough keeper that no matter how far we get in any competition, even if we get like FA Cup final, we're comfortable playing our other keeper just to share game time. That was my thought process. But I didn't think they were going to split game time in the Prem very often. But I am now thinking it'll end up being pretty similar.
Do you think he's going to employ that tactical goalkeeper nature in the Champions League as well, or do you think that cup competitions are exclusively around?
I think they're going to be pretty interchangeable. I think that's another reason why there was an interview floating around after the game where the reporter asked him about, is David Raya your new number one? And Arteta spouts a bunch of whimsical nonsense, basically saying nothing. And I think a lot of people were like, oh, he's just trying to avoid it.
Didn't he say something about Fabio Vieira?
Well, he was like, what is Fabio Vieira's number? And he's like, well, we're talking about goalies. And he was like, yes, but Fabio Vieira doesn't normally start, and he's not outplacing anybody. We're a team of 11, not a team of one player or something. It was basically avoiding the question. And a lot of people were like, oh, he probably just doesn't want to make Ramsdale mad. But I think it was more about there really is no number one in his mind. Like, I think they are both number one.
Spurs Twitter was saying, this guy's a fucking weirdo to that interview.
It's also like, if they're like changing the goalie based on like tactics, that you can have like a massive impact on the game. So I think he's also trying to keep that card. Like, if you don't know who's starting until 90 minutes or 2 hours before the game, like that can make a huge difference depending on how if you're a multi-variable team and you can do different things.
Yeah. The last point on that game, I thought, speaking of Vieira, I thought he kind of had a meh game. I thought starting Havertz probably would have been the same, maybe better, to be honest. I think Vieira might be more suited to cup competitions or substitute appearances for now. Moving on to the Champions League game, I mean, this was just the perfect return. I don't have a lot to say tactically. I'm just so excited to be back. So excited, in fact, I could not spell on Twitter, and then I could not read when I revisited that tweet. And I had no idea. But yeah, 4-0 clean sheet, 4 goals, Bukayo Saka starting us off as well. It was poetic in that sense. And yeah, it was just great to see. I mean, when the first goal went, I just couldn't stop smiling. I was just so excited. Obviously, our group is a little easier, so we need to finish first in the group. Otherwise, it's a little bit cringe. It's all, we have a Europa League group, to be completely honest. But yeah, I'm excited for us to get to the round of 16 and then lose 10-2 to Bayern. So
yeah, I hope what happens to us happens to you guys, is that whenever we won our Champions League group, we always got Bayern or Juve or like someone extremely strong.
Yeah.
So also, by the way, 4 goal scorers and 4 different assisters. So 8 players involved on the score sheet in a 4-0 game, which is pretty impressive. So that is going to bring to a close our match reviews and generally the pod for the week. Although I do want to give a line to Josh real quick about Leicester, because they did pick up 2 victories this week.
Yeah, we had 2 huge games against Southampton and Norwich, won both. The Southampton game, I think we looked really good, but I don't think that's like the biggest takeaway. I think for us, our biggest takeaway was Mavi Aditi needs to shoot the ball or pass the ball. He had like 3 or 4, 2 chances where literally it is him versus the keeper, and Vardy was making a run and he didn't pass it to him, and no one was marking Vardy. And then another chance where he was going down the wing on a break. Mavi and McAteer and Vardy were coming down. Vardy was being marked by both of the center backs that were still in, because they transitioned from a 3 to a 4 at the back. And no one was marking McAteer. He even tried to pull up and like pass it to him, and he just passed it basically straight to the goalie. So I love how much like space he creates, how good he is like on the ball, off the ball, like being marked by multiple men. But it is kind of getting ridiculous how much like he doesn't pick his head up in the final third, which causes issues because he doesn't have anybody. He doesn't try to pass it to anybody. I think the biggest takeaway from the game is more for Southampton. They're trying to do exactly what they did last season, which got them bottom. But also they don't have any of the better players they did last season. So all they're doing is long balls, which is super easy for us to defend. The Norwich game, I was in class, so I didn't really have a whole lot of time to watch it, but from watching a few clips and just seeing what fans were talking about, but we played about the same. We just did a significantly better job than Norwich at blocking shots, and we got the early penalty, which was very deserved. Nini and Nacho smashed it in, and we won 2-0. And McAteer is now, I think, second top goal scorer with 4 goals now in the championship, which I was not expecting, but it once again shows that our academy and our scouting is good when they are given the proper funding.
Okie dokie. Let's move it right along to the album of the week, Ethan.
So I went with a more fall themed one because I think September always feels like fall. So I went for Neil Young, Harvest. A lot of great folky songs on there. It's a shame that he's not on Spotify, but I at least have that to hold me over. But I do have a funny story. It is in regards to one of my CDs, actually. So I collect CDs as well. And I recently remember that my mom, growing up, had a really nice CD player in her office that recently she's like, oh, you could have that. So, I've got maybe 50 CDs. And I realized recently that none of them work on it. And so I was like, what is wrong with this? But there's one in particular that actually works. And this is the only one that works out of everything I've tried so far. It's Rainforest Cafe, Rhythm of the Tropics. This is the only one that works so far. I love it, but I would love it if all my other ones would work. So Rainforest Cafe, Rhythms of the Tropics have been keeping me company.
By the way, nice nod by you, because fall actually begins on the day that this episode is going to come out. So
Wow.
the 21st of September. So great shout by you. The 21st night of September, some have called it. Some have called it that.
The weather has been amazing here. This week, I don't know what made it cool down, but it has been amazing here. We've been taking Vienna, our puppy, on walks, whenever we finish dinner, and it has been so nice out here.
Don't even
You have a
talk to me about
jersey
the
of-
weather. We're melting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad. The humidity sucks, but I'm so glad we only will see triple digits for 3 or 4 weeks a year, if that. But
You have a jersey of the week.
I do. I think this might be the first jersey I ever got.
Wow.
No kidding.
So when I was little, I was a huge LaDainian Tomlinson fan.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's a LaDainian Tomlinson Chargers jersey. And for those who probably don't know, because you probably don't watch football, if you're American football, if you're watching this, he's one of the best running backs of the 2000s decade. He has the NFL record for most touchdowns in a season. He scored 29. He had 21 rushing touchdowns and 8 receiving touchdowns for a non-quarterback, which is a pretty big deal. He went to the Hall of Fame in 2017. Was my favorite player growing up. That was my first jersey, and it's been hung up in my bedroom for a while. At one point when I was younger, the frame fell off and was cracked. So at some point I'm going to get it framed and put it up in here. This is our office in our new house, and slowly getting homier, but it's also just where we put the stuff. We don't know where we want it yet.
You have a picture with him.
I do have a picture with him. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I was a sophomore in high school, and I was going to one of the high schools to work out with some people, and we were sitting there drinking water, and there's a local track club practicing, and I was I think that's him. He's a little bit bigger now and has the fattest dip in the world, and I was I think that's him. And I went up, I was hey, sir.
I thought you were about to say the fattest ass. I was like,
I mean, I wasn't looking at that. So, but yeah, I have a picture with him, and that was pretty cool. I kind of forgot I had a picture with him.
Fun fact about LaDainian Tomlinson, he's actually hated at Baylor University because he was born in and grew up in Waco and went to TCU like an absolute Judas Iscariot. I don't know. But No, I'm just kidding. I don't actually care. It was before my time anyway. But just fun fact, he's not really loved at Baylor.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, I
Love
loved
the
him
tease.
growing up, but my dad was like,
Yeah,
we liking
he's
him.
my
man."
favorite player. That he like. Some of my first memories with football was like the first sport I like watched a lot growing up, just because my dad really, really likes it. But yeah, so a pretty special jersey. It was in here, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna use that one because I haven't had a chance to hang it up yet.
Very excellent stuff from all involved, gentlemen. Josh, thank you for coming on and providing us some knowledge.
You're welcome.
And winning the quiz, by the way. Congrats on winning the quiz.
Shocker. I don't remember the last time I won a quiz. Normally I do awful, but it's been a better week. I'm gonna try to watch some more Premier League this weekend because I have not been able to watch a whole lot. I've watched like maybe a half a game a weekend recently.
Thank you to Reese as well. I look forward to the North London Derby this weekend, which I will be in attendance at your house for. So really looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Thank you again for hosting.
Indeed. And thank you to Ethan, and a special shout out to Ethan, whose birthday is coming up. So we're going to have a little North London Derby and birthday bash for Ethan. So happy early birthday to Ethan, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. Hopefully I'll do better on the quiz next time. I feel like I didn't live up to the hype that I used to be.
Ethan is kind of usually the quiz guy.
You're the quiz master, yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we can break the SLAPcast curse, because I feel like it
Well, not this weekend.
well, not this weekend obviously, but soon.
Where
I
all
think
four of us can win a game
Right.
on the same weekend. So hasn't happened in a long time, but maybe it'll happen soon. And a final thank you to you, the listeners, of course, for coming along with us. Slightly shorter episode due to some commitments of mine that I must now rush off to arrive at, which seems to be a common theme lately. I'm a busy bee, as they say. But we want to say a thank you to goodbye.